card. Jacinta.
And John.
Jane.
Julia.
Eva. David. Jamie. Ben.
Dean.
James.
And Bob.
Right, we start off the same old way, saying the same old thing. The same old one essence. Can't teach you anything, and I can't tell you anything. Understand that right from the jump. When you realise what we're talking about, you realise that nobody can ever teach you anything, and nobody can ever tell you anything. Because we are all things, patterns, shapes and forms, which are expressions of the pure, what I call, for want of a better term, you can call it God or whatever you like, intelligence energy that functions this universe. Cosmos. And another way I put it, not talking to anybody, not talking to any mind. And all we believe we are body minds. I'm not talking to that pattern. I'm talking to that I am, that I am. The I am that I am is a sense of presence, the same as it is there. The I am that you believe you are is that sense of presence. Its pattern, shapes and forms and expresses through the mind is that thought. So the pattern, shape and form they're expressing through is the instrument through which it expresses. But it's still life, or the one essence, or spirit, or many other labels they put on it. That is all there is. And that's the great mantra, I am that. Hey. How you doing? And look at that, everything is that. Innately we know that because we say that's the tree, that's the flower, that's the chair, that's the carpet, that's the earth. Everything is that already. But we discriminate it with more words. So it is the word that we take to be real, but the word is not the real, it's not the thing. Tree is a label we put on it. Body is a label we put on this body. Mind is the label we put on it. We say my body. Don't you say my car, my house, my hat, my coat? You know you're not the house, the car, the hat or the coat. So maybe you're not this body either. Same with the mind, my mind. And that is the problem. We believe ourselves we are this body mind, which we call the person, the separate entity, the individual. But where does that word person come from? From the ancient Latin persona, the mask. So what we really are and what they're pointing out even then. We've got this conceptual image or mask, which we've labelled, our parents have labelled us with, and we've taken on the belief that we are that. And with this virus on, you've been wearing a mask. What's the mask do? It disguises it, a lot of it, you know. Before the virus was on, if you walked into a bank with a mask, you wouldn't be too happy. They'd pounce on you. They knew that the mask hiding something or disguising something. Well, that's what it's doing. This conceptual idea of person, the mask, it's hiding our true nature. And that's why they call it ignorance in the scriptures. And we think they think we're ignorant, well, we're not learned, we're ignorant, we're dull or stupid. It doesn't mean that at all. It means we are ignoring our reality. We're ignoring the true nature and focusing onto the belief that we really are this person. And that's the sad thing. Look around, 99.9% of the population in the world are believing they are this person, this individual, this separate entity, the person. And realise that's the cause of all our psychological suffering. But the person is not the reality. It's just a label. Now, how did all this labelling come about? Purely and simply because when this pattern, shape and form appeared and the capacity of reasoning develops in it, it learnt words. It learnt words from the parents who had learnt words, who had learnt words, who have learnt words. Trace it back as far as you like. All learnt words. And so your parents told you, your little Billy or your little Jane or your little somebody else or so-and-so, and you realise the sense of presence came upon you. We learnt that word, I am. So we put a label on it. I am little Billy or little Johnny. Instead of saying that I am the absolute, I am the totality, I am the reality. Now I've brought myself down to little Johnny. And, hey. And that's been reinforced. We go to school, we learn words, we go to school and learn more words, and we start believing in the words, not realising that the word is not the real. Take the word water. Can you drink the word? You can't. Can you swim in it? Can you drown in it? Does the word fire burn your mouth? Can you cook with it? Can you heat yourself with it? So, when you take another look at this I and see if this I, this me that I believe myself to be, is that the truth? With a little bit of investigation, you'll see it's not. But we're locked into it and believe in it, and with that conditioned belief, we've taken it to be real. And we realise our life goes on a bit. First off, we come from, our family's got some traditional belief, or we feel not happy or not content. We start looking along these lines. This believes that our parents have taken on, and so get locked into it. But after a while, some of us, like you people here this morning, have realised there's got to be a little bit more to it, because the beliefs you had in your religious beliefs, partly, some of them ring true, but there's a lot that doesn't. And something says, well, there's got to be more to it than this, and that's what you open up to, and it takes you along to other things. brings to it. And looking into the stuff where it's opened up a bit more, and you start to cognise it, recognise it, and it keeps taking you further along until the so-called realisation comes about, if you keep investigating. We've taken on all these beliefs. And have a look at the word belief. It's not the thing. Question your belief. Your dictionary definition of belief is an unquestioned acceptance of something in the absence of reason. Means we haven't looked into it, we haven't understood it, we've taken it for granted. And your parents told you, you're little Johnny, you're little boy or little girl, whatever you are, you believed in it. And you are this body-mind. Well, are you? Are you the body? Are you the mind? Have a look. Because they say the false cannot stand up to investigation. So, when you investigate anything, and if it's not the fact, you'll see through it. So when you investigate this belief that you are this person, you are this body-mind, it'll fall apart, but can't stand up to it, disappear. I take myself to be this body and this mind, but am I the body? Investigate it and see. What's this body made up of? You'll see it's made up of elements. Air, earth, fire, water, space. Just like the elements around you right now. You can't see those elements around you, but they're there. Break it down, see. Take the water out of it. The body's 60% water. You won't last long without it. Take the air. Stop breathing. You won't last long without that element air. Take the fire, the body temperature. You soon get hypothermia and die. Get off the earth if you can. Get out of space. And you realise you can't separate yourself from all these elements. And these elements be broken down into subatomic particles into pure energy. So all this body is a vibrating pattern of energy. But it seems it's got this pattern to express through. It seems solid. But that pattern, as I say, is made up of the elements. What about this thing called mind? You say my mind, again, just like you say my house, my car. Well, if you believe you are the mind, show me your mind. Can you show me anything you call mind? I can't find anything you can call mind. There's no thing there except apart from thought. What we call thinking, we call mind. Thinking. And what's thinking? Isn't it a vibration? Thinking is word. It's sound. When it comes, it's out, it becomes word or sound. What's sound? A vibration. Vibration's a movement of energy. At the subtle level, it's what you call thinking or thought. Now, you're not the body, nor are you the mind. But this body-mind, this pattern, is like the mouthpiece through which the life is expressing. That is what you are the life. as Christ told you a couple of thousand years ago, and he says, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. People thought he was talking about himself. He wasn't talking about himself as a person. He was talking about that life essence that was animating, expressing through him, using that pattern token form which had formed out of the essence of the food eaten and the prana, the breath, had formed that pattern to express through with the brain and all the things in it, the heart, the lungs and all the organs. And it couldn't express without a pattern to express through. Just like a computer, it's got all that amazing information in it. But if you haven't got the power turned on, what are you going to get out of it? What good is it to you? It's no good at all without the power. So what good is that body-mind to you without the life in it? No life in it, it's a corpse, isn't it? And that corpse has still got the eyes, the ears, the heart, the lungs and all the organs are there that make it up until it starts to rot and break down. And it starts to rot and break down because it hasn't got that life essence in anymore. So this body, mind, is just a vibrating of intelligence energy. Like, what's it all appearing in? Isn't it appearing in space? Silence, stillness, that's the screen on which it all appears. Now, is that space separated into individual pattern shapes and forms? Or is it the one space? Try and separate space. Try and divide it. See if it's got any boundaries to it. And silence is the absence of sound. It's before any vibration has come into it. Silence. It's empty space. That's why they call it a cognising emptiness. An emptiness suffused with cognising or knowing. We think we are cognising the emptiness, but we're not. It's the emptiness that's doing the cognising, suffused with that innate intelligence energy, or godliness, if you like to call that, or awareness, different labels you put on it. It's formed these patterns to express through. And the Buddha said emptiness is form, pointing out that these pattern shapes and forms, you, me and everything else, are forms appearing in that emptiness, because he said, turn it round the other way and said the form, emptiness is form, and the forms can be nothing other than the emptiness. So you and I and all the rest of this manifestation, you can't take anything outside of space. What would it be in? Can you postulate or think of anything that's outside of space? So you must be in space, but you are nothing other than that space. But we appear or seem to be separate and apart from it. The way it's vibrating in different patterns. Like the ocean. You'll see a ripple will appear on the ocean, a wave and all sorts of things will appear on the ocean. So, and with all those different pattern shapes and forms, it's ever changing. Ever changing. But as the way it's appearing, it's different, certainly changing. But the essence of it, as the ocean, is never changing. So that's what's going on here in this manifestation. It's ever changing, but never changing. And it's spontaneous. We put the concept of time on it and believes it has a beginning and an end. But And they put the ideas it's millions of years old and started with a big bang. But it's the one essence, patterning, shaping, forming, appearing, expressing everything, but it's eternal. So anything that has a beginning, no matter how far back you can try and label it, must have an end. What doesn't have an end? Isn't this eternal moment right now? When does now begin? Try and postulate a point where it begins. You can't. And try to grasp it, you'll say, well, I've got it now. And even as you said that, it stopped. Started and beginning again. And stopping and beginning, coming and going, constantly transient. This manifestation is transient. Whether you know it or not, that body right now that you're sitting in here is changing. There are thousands of cells dying right at this moment and being replaced. Now, being replaced. What's it being replaced? Why, these cells are being replaced, and each of those cells that's replacing it is suffused with the same intelligence energy. The activity of knowing. That's because a liver cell won't replace a skin cell, or a heart cell won't replace a brain cell. Each cell suffused with that intelligence energy knows what to do. And how did it all begin? Well, that animating life essence, that pattern you call your father, patterning with the life essence expressing through it, enabled in that pattern through the essence of the food eating and the prana, the breath, a little microscopic particle called a sperm to form. And that sperm was suffused with intelligence. It knew what to do. The same with the mother, that animated life essence in the mother, enabled another pattern of energy, an ovum or an egg to form in that pattern. And that ovum was suffused with intelligence. It knew what to do. The sperm swam to the ovum. And the ovum, with that suffused with that intelligence, when they came together, what happened? They doubled and doubled again and formed a little embryo, the little fetus, what you are today. What were you doing about it then when they were formed? As the person, you were doing nothing about it. Why? You didn't have any words. When you were born, can you remember your birth? You can't remember your birth. Why? Again, you didn't have any words. So the capacity of reasoning develops in you as that little embryo is growing. And when you're born, you haven't got any words. That's why you can't remember your birth. But you learnt words when the capacity of reasoning developed about 2.5. And realising that every word you've ever spoken, I never likely to speak, it's been picked up along the way, been learnt. And the words are really can be very useful, but they're self-destructive. They're useful pointers or signposts. You've got a signpost which points, so if you're out on Burke Road, it'll point you to where White Horse Road and Burke Road meet, in this direction, but you're not there. But you follow the signpost and you'll get there. Well, what we're pointing out here is what we're doing is like the signpost. We're pointing you to it. Nobody can do it for you. You've got to do it yourself. But if you follow the signpost, it will resonate with you and you go along with it. it'll take you there. And you'll recognise or resonate with the fact that you're already that. That is all there is. That's what they tell you in the scriptures, that I am that is the great mantra. And don't you know that? Because you say, innately you know it, because you say that's the chair, that's the tree, that's the flower, that's you, that's me. You know it's already that. And that they're pointing to is the absolute. It's not the person, it's the absolute. What can you add to the absolute? Nothing. What can you take away from the absolute? Nothing. It wouldn't be absolute if you did. So you're already that. Or, as they put it in Buddhism, they call it the great perfection. What can you add to the perfect? If it's perfect, nothing can be added to it. Nothing can be taken away from it. So you are already that. But we've believed otherwise when we learnt from our words from our parents. They say, "You're little Johnny," or "You're little Billy," or "Little Jane," with the capacity of reasoning. But that capacity of reasoning didn't start till you were around about 2.5, might have been earlier, might have been later, when you picked up these words from your parents fussing around you and talking amongst themselves, spoke words. And they say, "You're a little Jane and you're a good girl," or "You're a bad girl, don't do this or do that." And we've learned all these concepts and believed in the word. As I pointed out earlier, the word's not the real though. And so we live by the belief in those words. But they're told in some of the scriptures and tell you that you can become realised or liberated or free. And what is there to be free from? Well, they say, know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Well, wouldn't it be necessary to look at these things that are coming up, investigate, we've taken to be real, and see if they are real, if they are the truth? And as we've gone along, we've recognised so many of the things that we believed in haven't stood up to that belief when they've been recognised, they've been seen through, like the water in a mirage, like the blue sea, like the snake in a rope, lots of other things, the rainbow. All these things, you investigate them, they can't stand up to it. When you get up, see what appears to be water on the road, drive up to it, it's not there. It was just the sun shimmering off the bitumen, and that shimmering seemed like water. A rainbow. You go outside and see colours in the sky. And when you investigate it, you see it's only the sun shining through the mist. There is no colour in the sky. It appears to be so. And look at the sky. It seems to have a canopy, a blue canopy over it. But where's the blueness in the sky? Sky is space. Space in this room. If there was blueness, if it was blue, this room would be full of blueness, but it's not. Go up 30,000 feet in a plane. The blueness is not in the plane. It's still further out. So it's only appearance. So recognise this body-mind, you call yourself the person. This is only how it appears. It's seemingly appearing to be, because they call this a phenomenal manifestation. The dictionary definition of phenomena is that which appears to be. So it's there, telling you clearly, how many of us take notice of it? only those that are not too happy with the way things are going and can't seem to get any sense of it, they're moved to look further, deeper into it, with that innate life essence that brought them into existence. Investigate and see for themselves. But then we think it's very hard. Only a few are going to get it. It's a sad thing, sad way of looking at it. When you do look at it and recognise, you'll recognise whether they know it or not. Everybody is already that. And they've put this conceptual image or mask on, which our schools, society and everything put on, followed in those footsteps, and have taken it to be real and suffered accordingly. Because it's only me that can be unhappy. It's only me that can be fearful. Only me that can be anxious. Full of resentment, full of self-pity, jealousy, envy. That's all the psychological suffering that goes on. And who's this one that's suffering? It's me. I'm unhappy. I'm fearful. I'm anxious. Instead of staying with the innate intelligence entity that I am the absolute, we're taking on I am this person, this individual, this separate entity. So, and the ones that start looking further start to realise that the person is not the reality, the person is not the thing. It's just a conceptual image, group of words, thoughts, ideas, images, which we've taken to be real. Now, words can be very useful for certain things. Some things they can be useful, but because they're a vibration, like everything else, and look at that when you listen to what Shakespeare said 500 years ago, there's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. So it's dividing the thinking into subject, object, good, bad, pleasant, painful, happy, sad. What are we divided with? The words or the labels? And the thing is, we take those good, bad, pleasant, painful to be separate. Separate. We've got to get rid of one and keep the other. Investigate and see they're not separate. They're just a vibration which a seeming stopper we put on one end and comes to the other. Good, bad, pleasant, painful. That's how the mind functions. Happy, sad, loving, hating. Without the word, what is it? We haven't put those words on. Is there anywhere in this manifestation, without the words, you can say it's good or bad, pleasant, painful, happy or sad, beginning or ending, thin or thick? You can't. There are no boundaries to it. But it's the labels and words we put on. We put the labels and words on it that get locked into the boundaries, and we suffer accordingly. So it's only me can be unhappy. Only me that can be fearful. Only me that can be anxious. And me, this believed in me, is the cause of the unhappiness, the sadness. And they're the effects of the cause. Isn't that what so-called karma is? Cause and effect? What happens if I don't relate to the cause, me? See the me as false. Now, if it's not being related to a cause, can there be an effect? So you see, you can be rid of all this conceptual idea of karma and what it does, what can happen to us and all the rest of it. Though it's seemingly so in the manifestation. And how do we do that? How do we relate it to me? Well, something comes up and you like it. You think you don't know what your next thought is, but thought is happening when you look at that. You're thinking, can't tell me what your next thought is. You don't know. Thinking is happening. And some thought comes up and you like it. How do you know? Well, I've experienced this before and it's good. And we don't want the good things to go, not realising, as I said earlier, it's all transient. It's all constantly changing. And there are lots of things that have happened here that you don't want to disappear or don't want to go. They've been good, they've been pleasant, they've been happy. Not realising no matter how much you love them and want to keep them there, they're going to change. And so we resist it from going, trying to keep it there. And resistance is conflict. Conflict means you're fighting with it, you're at war with it. And that brings up the anxiety, the fear, the stress, the unhappiness. And that unhappiness or cause, the resistance, is the conflict going on. It's uneasiness when you're in all those things. Another word for uneasiness is dis-ease. We're not at ease. So there's resistance, conflict and dis-ease going on in these patterns almost constantly. There are little spaces where we get a taste of our true nature. We've all had tastes of it down through the ages, but we've gone back into the old conceptual way of thinking. But so there's resistance, conflict and disease coming up. But something comes up that you don't like. Out of that, the thought will come up, oh, this is not good, it's going to, or it's so-and-so, it's rotten, it's ugly, or it's bad, I shouldn't be thinking this. So that's the other side of the coin. It's good, it's bad. We don't want the bad things. So we do. What do we do with them? We resist them too. Resist the good things because we don't want them to go. We resist the bad things because we want to get rid of them. And that resistance again is conflict and disease. So you see where all your psychological suffering comes about from and why it's consistently happening. But there's no one-ended stick. And there is no one-sided coin. And all this patterning, shaping, forming is the one essence appearing as everything. If you like to call it God, you can, or presence awareness, and that awareness is much more term that I like, and the term I like is intelligence energy. Intelligence is knowing. Everybody is knowing right now. And knowing is an activity, a movement. Any activity or movement is energy. So that's where I get the term intelligence energy. But you've got the term God, and all these different traditions or religions will have different concepts or ideas about what this God is. Hinduism, they have 1,000 names of Vishnu. They've got 1,000 different names of God. Hebrews say, Hear, O Israel, the Lord thy God is one God. There is none other. They call it Yahweh or something like that. The Muslims will say there's no God but God. Allah is his name. So each one's got a different name, and they start fighting, going to war, and rest of it over the different labels they've got for it. But the label is not it. So intelligence energy is not it even. This is just another label. But take the life out of this body. This body is what we call alive. And Christ says, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. That I amness, that sense of presence, is the life of you. That's what it's pointing to. Take the life out of that body, you've got a corpse. That corpse has got eyes, ears, heart, lung and liver, and all the organs there, which are vibrating through it, and that enables it to express in patterns, shapes and forms and words, ideas and activities, which is useful. Like your computer's got all the information with it, but take the life out of it, the power out of it, it's no good at all. And that means that you are the power, you are the life itself. And life lives on life, as Nisargadatta says. And out of life, more life comes. Now, as I said, it all appears in that basic space of phenomena, the screen. So everything in that manifestation is the one essence, patterning, shaping, forming, experience, expressing as everything. It's not two. That's non-duality, not two, one without a second. The activity of knowing, intelligence, energy. So there is absolutely no duality in non-duality. So we're constantly dividing it up with these words, concepts and ideas. They're constantly dividing the indivisible, making it seemingly real, seemingly happening. And of course, with that sense of separation must come the insecurity. With it comes insecurity and vulnerability. You're not sure of what you are, you're very insecure about this and that. You got that sense of presence, if I am the life. Well, you don't say I am the life. I am this body, mind, and all these other bodies, minds around you. What are they saying, thinking and doing? I can't get in touch with them. But as the absolute, and see it, it's not divided at all, but it can express pattern, shape and form in all this diversity, in all the wondrous formations and pattern, shapes and forms it can express through. There's still that one intelligence as your life that's patterning, shaping, forming and expressing as everything. And you are that. And what doesn't thatness then take on a different idea? If that is all there is, I must be that. There is nothing else I can be. And all the other so-called things that are appearing as other, separate from me, can only be that too. So what am I searching for? And what do I think I'm going to find? Looking at some of the scriptures and traditions are out there, they've got all sorts of practices and things to do. Trying to become that. But have a look at that word become. Doesn't it imply a future time? And what you are you right now? Aren't you being right now and realise being can never become anything. Because when you look at the concept of time, you'll see that's a fiction also. Is there a past if I don't think about it? Well, to have a look at that, I've got to try and go beyond the thought and see what's there without the thought. And I realise I can't say it's good, bad, pleasant, painful, past or future without bringing the concept or thought to it. Is there a future? I can't do anything about it. The future implies a future time. Have a look at that. See for yourself. Can I live the past? Can I go back and live in the past? I can't. I can recall it. And I can't recall all of it. The parts of it I can recall and remember. That's why you can't remember your birth. You had no words then, so how could you remember that? And if you don't think about it, it's gone. But we fixate on words and the things that have happened to us and all the rest and keep them there for years, and so keep regurgitating the past. I can't live in the future. I can imagine and anticipate what I'm going to do after this meeting's finished, but I can't live a moment in the future. So past and future are concepts. And if I'm latching onto the concepts, it's not this ever-fresh presence awareness, the activity of knowing that's happening right now in this immediacy. So that's what needs to be looked at. Call it in Hinduism, Advaita, the non-dual, one without a second. They say one without a second, not two. They don't mean that the second as in time, but they mean the second without another, the other, not two. So they mean it's not separate. Not even one. Because the idea of non-duality implies that it's not even one. If there is other than one, that's relativity or relationship. So we're constantly relating to this or to that or to the other, locked in this relationship and missing out on our true nature. And this so-called male-female relationship is one of the worst. It causes a lot of trouble. What if you're not relating to the other? You're merging in with it, going along with it. A totally different outlook, different name. So that's what we need to do. Or you don't need to do. I can't say you need to do anything. That's what can happen if you like to look into it. So, as I say, something moves you to look into these things and you see it a bit further. And then the recognition, another way of putting that non-duality is Sat, Chit and Anda, Nama Rupa. Sat is existence, Chit is consciousness, and Anda is loving to be. Nama Rupa is the name, Nama is the name and Rupa is the form. They're the five factors. Well, Sat is existence, so you're existing right now. And you'll say, yes, you know you're existing. Are you conscious right now? Yes, you're not unaware right now. No, I'm aware. You're happy to be right now. Yes, I'm happy to be. So don't you recognise that I'm already that? What have I got to search for? Or another way of putting it is being, knowing and loving to be. Am I being right now? I certainly am. Can't say I'm not. Am I knowing? There's a pure knowing there. I can't say I am not. The knowing is I am. And again. And don't I like being or love to be? I don't want to be dead. So you see, looking from those lines, you see that the search itself becomes the problem. Instead of recognising what I already am and I'm already there, I'm saying, I've got to become something. I believe I am this person. I've got to get rid of this person. This person is not good enough as things are not going well with it. It's got to become something. I don't recognise just to see the falseness of the persona, the mask, see the conceptualism, and you're already there. So, when we start from the person, trying to become something, in other words, look at that beingness, you call yourself a human being, and you call God the supreme being. Take away the label human, and take away the label supreme. Try and separate the beingness without the label. It's just pure being then, and not marked up by any label. And you can't negate that beingness. So you must be that. So start from the fact you're already in it and carry on from there. And you've all had taste of it, or you wouldn't be sitting there. Throughout our life we've always had a taste of it. Things have fallen into place, been just natural and effortless. But then it's come up, we've locked back into the old habit pattern again. And you say you lost it. How can you ever lose it when you already are that? How can you gain it? It needs to be, as they say, recognised. It's a cognising emptiness. You're cognising it. Look into it, investigate it, and recognise it the best way you see it. So as I say, it's been going longer than it should. Got any questions or arguments you can or what you've understood? Tell us in your words what you've understood. Somebody else might resonate with it, might help them, putting it in a different way to what I'm saying it. But it's open up for you all, so get into it.
We have a few questions. Hi everyone, and hi everyone who is online with us. We have about 22 people here, and we've got a few questions. I've got screenshots for them. Yes, so the first question is from Lindal. She's asking, how did this patterning appear initially? Like, were there a time when there was no patterning and it suddenly appeared, or?
Well then, what you got to have time.
I know, yes.
If there's no time, it's just a spontaneous functioning. When, before you were born, you can't remember your birth, but you were no thing. And seeming so-called things appear, but you are still no thing, because you are a thing. All this manifestation of things. Can something come from no thing? It can't. So it's all no thing, seemingly appearing through the patterns, shapes and forms, the things in it that have seeming taken on that life essence, or seemingly so. But it's still the same essence. If the pattern, shapes and forms, what's it going to express through? It still goes back into its emptiness, its silence, its stillness. So it's the innate intelligence energy, the vibration of that life essence. We call it life essence, if you like. The knowingness, the beingness.
So there is also an answer that Amarnath gave to Lyndall, and it says, lovely, you yourself answered, appearance is to the appearance I, to whom is appearance and disappearance. What doesn't appear and disappear? So it was regarding how the patterning appear initially, and Amarnath highlighting that it's just an appearance.
Yes, that only seemingly so.
Yes. And of course, you've explained the time. The time is only in the mind, so the beginning is only in the mind when you think about it. The other questions from Tanya. Do you think shadow work needs to take place, or is it just a story overlaying the energy vibrating as anxiety, fear, sadness, or grief? There is no enlightenment really, is there? There is just the natural state. No need to go into subconscious, etc. That's from Tanya.
Yeah. Well, ask me do I believe. I don't believe in shadow work. Somebody else might.
I would basically say who is to do the work, because you may find yourself learning new things or doing psychotherapy and you are still not the doer.
Yeah.
If that's how life unfolds, that's how life unfolds.
Mm.
So it's not really whether it is right or wrong, or you should choose it or not choose it. You're not the choice maker. It's not up to you. Amarnath also answers, why to think at all? As Bob says, what's wrong with right now, right here, if you don't think? World is only thought, reflection. Knowing, thinker, me, also thought. Cognizing emptiness takes over. Yeah, worrying whether you should do or not do is all more of the thinking. But Tanya says, you know, that kind of what came up when looking at this today. My favorite quote of Bob's is, what's wrong with right now if you don't think about it? No need to be concerned with the reflections. Easier said than investigated, laughing out loud. Thinker, me, is indeed only a thought. I can't find this me, the thoughts and sensations appear on behalf of. Thank you, Amarnath. So that was Amarnath answering to Tanya. Dear lovely Bob, oh, now that's for you. Can you speak on cognizing emptiness, not emptiness cognizing, please? Thanks, I know is beyond words and nowhere.
Cognizing emptiness.
Cognizing emptiness, not emptiness cognizing. Actually, you say that cognizing emptiness is the emptiness cognizing. So it is not that there is not emptiness cognizing, it is emptiness cognizing instead of myself or yourself cognizing.
Yeah.
So,
Well, cognizing is another term for that, is knowing or intelligence.
Yeah.
Cognizing. It's the emptiness that's doing the cognizing.
That's right, yeah.
That's in the vibrations, the movements, everything.
Now, Amarnath replies to Tanya, oh, that's just icons. And another Amarnath, separation is inseparable, is an appearance, fun game of mine. And again, a lot of happy faces. And now Amarnath also says, dis-ease, conflict resistance, is mind's disease.
Yeah.
Quoting you.
Not
And
at ease.
Oh yeah. And another one from Amarnath, no label, no mind. And just be, no become. Just be, no become, don't become. And I guess that's it for now. With the comments, I'll just have a look if there's anything fresh. Yes, we have one from Tanya. I'm not interested in shadow work really. It was suggested to me recently, but it seems like going into the narration rather than recognizing what is. See, that's how it unfolded, because if it was suggested to some other body mind, the response would be different. And who knows, if for you it doesn't resonate, you're not going to probably find yourself digging into it. Somebody else may find, and that's okay too.
Yeah, all these things are valid in the appearance.
Yes.
They're still only the appearance. What I say, you know, you can go into whatever you like. You think.
And I think they are fascinating, beautiful stories. You can dig in, but if you forget they are stories, you're actually multiplying the mind, you're gathering more of the drama. If you remember that's a story, it's just, whether you look at the shadow work or you go and watch the Netflix, that's the same. You're free in watching whatever shows up. And now Primali says, life happens. Illusory judgment is the suffering. Recognize illusion as illusion. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And now the online comments are all exhausted, so please join us. And anyone has a question or comment or anything you would like to highlight or add or deny? Or yes, just wait a second.
So you don't have questions?
Yeah, we gotta share some.
Thank you. I've heard that a saying that enlightenment is an accident, and all you can do is become accident prone. I'm wondering if you can comment on that.
There you go. You gonna comment on that?
I don't think so.
Come on. So was it that enlightenment is accident or isn't?
Well, it's another way of saying I think that there's nothing specific you can do, or there is no cause and effect, but there is a way that you can, supposedly, there is a way that you can open yourself up. But of course, there is no specific way to it. So, I mean, it's a paradox in a sense. We're here for a reason, but there's nothing specific that we can do. So, perhaps we can open ourselves up to the possibility of awakening or enlightenment. So that's my understanding.
Wait down.
I just want to jump into that with my first conversation with Bob. Just tell the story. I love the story, so I'll just tell it. So I had heard about him from somebody else in the United States who had said he was enlightened. Yeah. And I was curious, like, what's an enlightened person like? I've never met someone who's enlightened. What's that like? So I'd never spoken with him before. I hadn't watched him on YouTube, and I hadn't read his stuff. So, but I'd heard about him. And I got on the phone with him and I called him up, and not quite knowing what to say to this enlightened guy, I just kind of blurted out, so I heard you're enlightened. And he didn't miss a beat. He said, well, first off, there isn't anyone here to be enlightened. And I had explored that before because, anyway, I was just like, yeah, that makes sense. And then he said, and if you think about it, there's no such thing as enlightenment. He said, because the very word enlightenment, the way we usually define it, it means someone who is one with the all. He said, if you could have someone who's one with the all, then you could have someone who's not one with the all, and that would be more than one. Maybe that answers the question about that, but yeah, I loved that one.
On the enlightenment being an accident, you had a comment, but Julia took the call, so you wanted to comment on opening up to it?
Yeah, What opened you up to learning words in the first place? Did you have to do anything about that?
Mm.
What, you
Good
know?
point.
Is that a rhetorical question, or are you asking me?
No, just,
It's a rhetorical question.
Okay.
what brought you into existence, in other words?
Mm.
The life essence was in that pattern it's open for, and it's expressing it learnt words, unable to function the way it does. But it's just the one essence that's doing a lot of it. It's no person. And as I say, if you moved to look further, it'll take you there. There's millions of other people in the world and not looking into this. If they come and play around and die and do all sorts of things, get killed and everything. But others are moved a little bit further to become great scientists or physicists or so-called enlightened beings. You know. It takes you where it takes you if you're open to it.
Yes, if you're open to it. I think I really like when you say, yeah, just have the attitude of being open, being curious, just really being receptive, and then life will take you, absolutely. And I think we have the comment here from, we have a couple of comments from Amarnath. Accident of accident, no one enlightened, or everyone's already enlightened. You are already that. And recognizing of already cognizance, Bob. Yes, this is the realization of what is already so, when the narrative is quiet, or even when the narrative is noisy, but underneath. And then Rohan says, hi dear Bob and Kat, it has been seen that here and now in direct experience, nothing is actually wrong. In fact, in direct experience, nothing can be found outside here and now. The mind patterns as me and creates seeming world outside and a little me inside. I know that pain and suffering exist in the narrative, yet there is some kind of perverse attraction to it. Here and now should be enough, but it seems hard to break the cycle of diving back into a narrative. You want to comment on the hardness of breaking up from a narrative? You don't have to break. Yeah, it's just a recognition.
It is seemingly hard, yeah.
Mm.
But as soon as we put that concept, we made it worse.
Yeah, but it's a beautifully said, Rohan. Yes, that's exactly how we. Yeah, it's nothing wrong when you don't think. It's nothing wrong unless you dive into a story. Diving into a story is an automatic autopilot function. You're not even doing it, so you can't stop it. But you can recognize it. And you're not even doing the recognition. Recognition happens when, like David said, when there is an openness, receptivity, curiosity, that quietness underneath the noise. From that, the recognition happens that the narrative which habitually you are engaging with is just the autopilot overlay, like a background noise, like a traffic or like music in the background. So it is, when it's recognized, is harmless. It's just what is part of the... Yeah, go Jamie.
I have a more practical definition of enlightenment that might make more sense. If you imagine your whole life, you've had this backpack on, and as you're going through life, more and more rocks and more weight is being added to this backpack, and life gets heavier and heavier, and you just take this backpack to be you. So you just accept that's how life is. I've just got this heaviness, this weight, and I've got to bear it. And then say a friend, say like Bob, or someone comes along and goes, that thing you got on your back, it's not you. You don't need to carry that. Here, let me help you take it off. Takes it off, and that's enlightenment. Just an instant relief of lightness, of being.
I feel relieved already.
You want to say something?
You want to say something?
Well, now that I'm in the spotlight, I guess we'll see what comes up. Yeah, sometimes in our conversations, you've said that sometimes you're speaking, and I think from understanding you, you understand that the words aren't quite capturing what you're experiencing. And I think that's always a challenge of communicating about something which is beyond communication in some ways. So does that sort of still go on for you? And how has that maybe shifted over the years? Or maybe you could just comment on that.
Well, the seeing through was immediate, and then all the stuff about that continues to drop off. Still constantly changing. Less and less concern with the things that are going on, or how it appears, or how you think it should be or shouldn't be. And I thought you were going to put it a little bit about yourself. A young fella here, 20 years of age. Got a pretty good understanding. Tell us.
It almost feels blasphemous in your presence. I was sort of pulled to this stuff at 15, 16, and it took me where I needed to go. But I always thought that I was doing something, becoming someone, was reading voraciously, spiritual books, and attended retreats and had a lot of kundalini, mystical experiences going on, and it was all happening. And then something, I searched up on Google, enlightened beings, and Bob came up, the wonders of, the 21st century. And so I couldn't believe, I thought there was only two people enlightened. I thought that was Christ and the Buddha. And and so, things started to reveal themselves. And when I'm studying, I just finished my bachelor's in neuroscience, and it was my 1 year in. I just left my biology exam, and I was going through a lot at the time, and I just said, I'm going to Croatia. I'm living in this spiritual commune, because the night before I watched a video by this female guru. I can't remember her name, and her eyes just appealed to me. And so I was ready to drop everything. I got home, and my mum was like, Italian woman, reacted like I'd been shot with a gun, and she said, "There's no way you're going anywhere." So I, continued, and anyway, I found Bob, and I couldn't believe that there was someone really in my backyard. I was willing to drop everything, and so I sat with Bob, and there was a bit of resonance the first time, but then something just kept pulling me back, and then, it just unfolded from there, and I realized I've never done anything my entire life, and I'll never do anything in my entire life. And there's just this feeling of love and gratitude for Bob, but for life more broadly. And when the seeking fell away, that's when I really saw, and that was the first time that's ever happened. And so there's been this feeling of oneness between all people, and in that there's been this perceiving of love, and it's just I guess it's a different ball game when there's that realization, and then the seeking stops. But life goes on, and it continues changing. So I worked with Bob a lot individually on one-on-one sessions, and I was also seeing this teacher called Vishrant in Perth, that Bob actually spent some time with, I think 20 years ago. So yeah, it's been a a seeming journey. And
did you spend time with Vishnu?
Oh, she goes to
Oh.
for a week.
1 week.
Yeah. Put me up when I was over there talking.
All right.
and they're very different teachers, and so that's just actually been a blessing for me, because I've had to go beyond the concepts and beyond the teachings themselves and just connect to that which is real. And so I guess that's it, really. We are all that. So
Thanks for sharing, Jamie.
Beautiful. Yeah, I was actually witnessing their one-on-one. I mean, I wasn't witnessing because I would normally go for a walk, but I could see actually how much the friendship and love grew up between the two of you, and that was just beautiful. Bob was so amazed that 20-year-old, he's getting it. That was so sweet to see. And we have another couple of comments here from people with us. Amarnath says, dream without dreamer, waking without waker, sleep without sleeper, recognition without recognizer or recognized. And now we have some gratitude for your analogy, Jamie. It was beautiful. Tanya says, great analogy, Jamie. And Rohan says, that's beautiful analogy, Jamie. Paul Kederman called it traveling lighter. Buddhists are using that as well, with the stone in your shoe. Walk 1,000 miles and then take it off. And Julia, British Julia also says, amazing, Jamie, thank you. Yes, so it is amazing analogy. Anyone else? Anything?
I'll just add something. Also just what you said, Kat, reminded me of something. I've never felt love. Ramana speaks about love for the guru, Ramana Maharshi. And I never experienced that in my life. I thought love was something for your girlfriend and for your family. You love your friends in a certain way. But then this sort of love that I just felt for Bob is like, it's on almost a different wavelength. And so it gets me a bit emotional, but I told Bob that, he'll always be with me and anyway.
Beautiful. I also saw many times Bob, when he is asked about Nisargadatta, he says, you can't help but love the man. You couldn't help but love him. He was passionate, he was never angry. And more often than not, there is a little sparkly tear in his eye as he says it, going a little bit emotional, just as you say.
Can't help but love you.
Yeah.
Can't help but love. Yeah, absolutely. It's so effortless. It's so easy. He's giving himself away for all that 45 years in it, putting everything aside, always being available and always being incredibly patient, repeating the same pointers relentlessly and having wonderful results also. There's a lot of people with us here who have a very good recognition and still coming out of love. I mean, what do you need, Jamie? You don't. You love, and we love to have you here too. And that's that's beautiful.
I wouldn't mind saying something.
Please.
Yeah, it was probably when I heard Bob speak at a meeting that there was an attraction to what was resonating here in the heart. This was another meeting that I used to go to, and so I had met him previously at another meeting, and I went up to him and I wanted what he had, and he handed me the book I Am That shortly after that, which was probably around 1987. I think he handed me I Am That. I'd already gone to another teacher, learnt techniques of meditation, sitting down in the morning and the night, and I had a 2-year-old and a 12-year-old running up and down the hall making a lot of noise, play fighting and having a lot of fun, and I was sitting down trying to meditate, and I'd been reading I Am That, and I just got up and I just went, I just am. And I went and yelled at the kids and told them to shut up. But, you know, it sounds flippant, but that was a profound realisation for me. I just recognise the truth of my own being. And having read I Am That a few times, Bob said, read it again and read it again. It was apperceived, or it was cognised, that I was that emptiness, that the rest of it was just a story appearing upon that presence that I am. And that story takes a while to get eaten away, but that truth or love or peace or beingness that you are eats away the lie, because you're more attracted to the presence than you are to the story. And you just see it. You really see it. And, patterns will come up and they'll dissipate. Patterns will come up and they'll dissipate, but they don't belong to anyone. They just are that chatter or that story that appears upon that presence or love or life or truth that you are. But so lovely to hear you.
I might just quickly add to that, Kat. It's been interesting recently as well. Like something resonated as you were speaking as well about, I find that in this process, the I will try and claim something. And this relates to what we're talking about, enlightenment and stuff. It's like, I am enlightened, I have awoken. And it's just another story. It's just another... And I think seeing through that but it's like once you've got it down pat, which is just seeing through the false, you just apply it to everything. And but that I think, there's definitely a spiritual trip that I think all of us have seen people engage with. We've probably been engaged with it, holier than thou. So that just came up as you're speaking as well. Beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful. That's important also. Yeah, beautifully said, Jane. We have actually a couple of comments on here. And I think that was in regard to the love of the one. Yes, love of love itself is Bob. Jamie, infinite love beyond description, ever grateful. Nothing equals everything equals love, says Ram. And British Julia says, of course we love the person who opened the jail door, and the hearts. And now, also Julia, you are an amazing no one, Bob and Kat too. Tanya, you are love, so grateful to come across Bob and Kat. And Primali sends a heart. And Amarnath, we enjoyed Bob and Kat's 3rd wedding anniversary. Thank you. Wishing wishes and love to both of you. Thank you, Amarnath. We sincerely appreciate Kat for taking care of everything, has infinite patience and love. That's an honor. And Ram also sends heart for our anniversary. Yes, it's all about love is action, love is the movement. Is that part of the everything and nothing which is creating the whole appearance? Is the everything part of the whole thing. So as Bob says, love that is not related, that is not owned, that is not, this is my. So if this is my body, I will only love this one, or I will whatever, look after it. Or if this is my partner, or my guru, or my country, that's relating. But if there is no one there, if there is nobody there to relate anything, the husband, the partner, the body, the country too, love is action. Love is the movement. Love is what shows up. And like Nisargadatta says, there is always love behind everything. This love can be misguided because it may be selfish. It may be only concerned with that little entity. Or when the entity blows away, it includes the whole universe. But love remains.
With that love comes trust as well, and a certain faith. And when I first met Bob, I felt that straight away, like just like an old friend. And there's that love is felt, and there's a certain trust, and what is being shared is just, I don't know, it hit home for me at that time. And that you can't get from reading books and from watching YouTube clips and things like that. Just that one-on-one resonance that happens, and the trust that that you know there's like a bell or something rings, that's what you're hearing is truth. And in fact, whether it's recognised at that point or not, eventually it will hit home, and that is well, for me it was a really important part of my journey of years of spiritual seeking, mainly through books and practices and a whole lot of experiences as well too, because there's always along the track there's a lot of aha experiences that don't always come to any lasting, and I don't think a lot of the time what we realise what we're looking for is so close to home that it's always been that way. You know, it's the ego, the me, that's looking for a special me. You know, that, like he was saying, like the spiritual ego, that people are going to come to me for advice, and I'm going to be sitting up on the high chair, and the world's going to be great. It's going to be all, you know, fairies and rainbows and stuff like that. But no, it's just very ordinary, and I feel the same gratitude and love for Bob.
Yeah, and if I can just say,
Yep.
I couldn't count the number of phone calls. I'm going to get emotional now. The number of phone calls, the number of times I've come round, you know, caught up in the naming and claiming, and the absolute love and patience and tolerance that was shown to me. Thank you, Bob.
We'll put it all on the Saga Adam.
Yeah, we have a couple of comments here as well. Rohan, it's funny how sitting here and listening to Bob and Kat's words has created a lightness. Somehow the narrative seems less intense. There is even a feeling that let the narrative run as it will. Ever grateful. Yes, that beautifully said. Let it run as it will.
Yes.
No clouds. That's Rohan.
Yeah.
Ever stitched to your head. You want to comment on that?
Rohan's got a very good grasp of things, you see, it's changing him.
Yes, yeah, and a very, very beautiful way of putting it in words too. And Dale, perfect meeting today, resonating with this being right now. Thank you, Bob and Kat, and all, much love. And Tanya, thank you so much for pointing that there is no doer or thinker, and that seeming being involved with story also just happens and is not done by anyone. Yes, there is more lightness here too, Rohan. Lovely to hear that. Yes, thanks, says Monica. And beautiful, Jane, thanks for sharing, from Tanya. And thank you all. And I would like just to say one more thing, because we start getting thank you messages and we still have a couple of minutes. It is a time now, if anyone from people who listen to us or from anyone among us would like to schedule a Skype call with Bob, because in 10 days he's going to the hospital and he'll be away for probably about 3 weeks. Don't know how he will be feeling. The next Sunday we're still here, we're still streaming.
Tomorrow, if you're listening from... we almost forgot to mention.
Yeah.
So Monday mornings at 9:30 Melbourne time. That's probably the easier way to say it. It's in the United States. If you're in the U.S., it's Sunday afternoons. But go to his website and join us on Zoom Monday morning, Melbourne time, 9:30 a.m. And he's doing that until he can't.
Yes, so in 1st of December, so last evening Zoom will be on Tuesday, hopefully, unless they will change the admission time. And then for next 2-3 weeks, he won't be doing it. I'll be showing up. If anyone comes, the meeting will go on. If not, I'll have a little bit of an extra time. No preferences. But yes, the time is now, because if he will have full anesthetic, then just straight after the hospital, maybe not the greatest form to actually take a lot of Skype calls as well. So use it now while you can. And a couple of one-on-ones we could probably squeeze in as well, although we are pretty booked for the week. But yes, keep inquiring. The email address of Bob is on the website, www.sailor.bobadamson.com. And that's it. If anyone would like to add anything, if not, we're gonna go for lunch. We have a couple of books to sell, or 3 or 4, and we have CDs to give away for free on the table out there. So have a look. Yeah.
Sorry, I just got to express my love and gratitude for Bob as well. It's just a continuation, and I like the trust that Jamie was saying, and it's like it actually goes beyond the person. Like the love and the trust is the consciousness recognising itself through the expression of Bob, and it's just magnificent. Thank you so much.
Beautifully said. And you want to? Oh,
yes,
yeah,
please.
sure.
Thank you. So, express my love for Sailor Bob in 3 words. It's 1 word I repeat 3 times. You are 93. Heat 100. Heat 100. Heat 100. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Heat 100. Yes. Thank you. And we have a couple of more comments. Thank you comments. And Vivek says, reverence to all great teachers, Rishis Sadgurus guided the world humanity. Yeah, I've seen some other comments. Only the love remains, says Ram. And nothing else I can actually get out of this fun. So, yes, thank you, everyone. Amarnath says, great job of cat. Thank you, Amarnath. And anyone is welcome, everyone is welcome to join us for lunch. And
Thank you, Bob.
thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.